Welcome back, guys, to Baby Got Stacks.
Oh, your image almost didn't appear again, and I got worried.
Oh, I'll just be a ghost. Um, if you hear something in the background, that's just the heater because Mel and I are currently in an ice storm. I am stuck up by Portland. Will not be traveling anytime.
Yeah, no, we're under winter advisory.
Yeah, yeah,
We're not to go outside.
it is icy out there. Very icy.
Yeah, we don't get nice fluffy snow. We get snow that packs down into ice. So
We didn't even
it's
get that.
real
We didn't even
nice
get.
and
We
dangerous.
just got frozen.
You just went straight to.
It was freezing rain as it was coming down. Yeah, it was just.
That's what we had yesterday for most of the day. Poor little Reggie going out on his little potty breaks. It'd come down as rain, and the second it land on him, it'd be ice. Poor little
Yeah,
baby.
Mickey was not having it. He was pooping with one leg up, so that way both feet didn't have to touch the ice.
Oh no!
He was.
You had
He
to
was
sacrifice
not.
one.
He was not having a good time. He kept like putting his legs up, like he almost had booties on. He was not enjoying himself.
I bought booties for Reggie last year, and I
right.
tried last year. He was not a fan.
Yeah,
I haven't tried again, but usually when it's this cold, he'll just hold it as long as he possibly can throughout the day until it's like now or never, and he'll run out, go, and then run back.
Yeah. Yeah, Mickey was not a fan. Usually he likes to stay outside for
Sliding.
long periods of time, and he's just like trying to walk on the ice. He's like, he keeps looking at me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry.
It's not a strolling outside kind of weather.
Not at all.
But it's reading inside weather.
Tis. I finished this book in like 2 days. Boyfriend's found a new video game, so he's been all over that, which gave me time to read.
Which for the girth of this book, sorry, I actually hate that word. I said it and I did not like it.
You're like, I take it back right now.
I regret it. But I mean, it is a pocket-sized book.
Which I've kind of come to the conclusion that I don't like pocket-sized books.
I do not like them. I do not like it.
Which kind of makes me, like, I do own other books that are pocket-sized in my collection, that it kind of makes me want to go find those books, figure out if I'm actually going to read them, and maybe just give them away because of their size.
After I read this one, I went through all of my pocket-sized books that I have left and got rid of them. Or I did keep a few, but if I like them, I'll probably just repurchase in a normal size. But the thing is, with these kind of older school mystery thrillers like Lisa Jackson, Karen Slaughter, the other Lisas,
Lisa Jewell.
Jewel. There's another Lisa Jackson. There's another one. I know there's another one. Lisa Gardner. Yes. Like there's so many Lisas. A lot of them came in like only pocket-sized books.
Yeah.
They were like a thing. They must have been like an early 2000s, late 90s thing.
Definitely 90s, because I feel like pretty much a lot of my mom's books.
I'll say even like Nora Roberts. School romance. Yeah. Nora Roberts. Even a lot of Lisa Kelpies.
Sandra Browns.
All pocket size.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. For some reason, my version of this book, some of the pages were super faded, like very light, and then other pages, the text was super dark, like it just didn't get printed correctly. I don't know. I wasn't a fan. This was like 500. This is a thick book. This was like 5.
And it's one thing that it's pocket size, so yes, it's gonna have more pages because you can't fit as many words on a page. But they made the text size pretty dang small, so I feel like it's pretty close to like what a word count would be on the like normal size book.
Yeah, so this book is 532 pages, but I bought it on my Kindle because I just refused. And it was like 440, I think, which is doable.
Yeah, it makes more sense for this. I forget what I rated this. What did you rate it?
I gave it a 3.
I want to say I also gave it a 3.
Like I thought it was I thought it was decent.
Yeah, 3.
I thought it was so. I don't think we said it. So this was Lisa Jackson. You Don't Want to Know.
Yes.
This one came out. Oh, I think I also paid $4 for it, possibly. My guess is that I got this when Browsers was going from 2 stores to 1 and was like half off for $1.
I think that's when I got mine.
That makes sense. 2012. So this book has been around the block.
Lisa Jackson has written so many books, a lot of standalones, a few series with a lot of books in those series, and usually from what I was looking at, I think it's mostly like you follow a detective, like the same detective.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what
the name. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's her usual, at least her series.
See, I don't mind that. Like that'd be fine. This book though, okay, I gave it a 3 because it had some good twists at the end that I thought were decent. I'm always curious when I'm reading mysteries when there's twists like this, like finding out who did it and why and like all this stuff. I'm always curious at one point who it is. As we've talked before in the past, guys, I am oblivious when it comes to figuring out who did it, why they did it, when they did, the whole shebang. I can never figure it out. And then there's Mel who's like, yeah, first page, how it was obvious. And I'm like, this is amazing. It's a gift.
This was like a 50-50.
You have
I got some things, other things I didn't see. What I liked the story. I didn't like the characters or the length of the story. This could have been told within 300 pages, easy.
The amount of characters this book had was atrocious. I kept a list, guys, because I cannot keep track of everyone. How do they expect us to do that? Okay.
So much.
So there was, I obviously didn't write down Ava's name. She's the main character. Then there's Wyatt, who's the husband. Demetria, who is Julianne's nurse. Chloe, best friend, engaged to Kelvin at one point. Virginia Zanders is Chloe's mom. Grisilla is the part-time maid. Austin Dern's the worker. And Dern's, he's pretty prominent characters. I had to include Mr. T, the cat, obviously. Jacob is Julian's brother. Julian is the cousin of Ava. Dr. McPherson is the psychologist. Sheriff Biggs is Chloe's uncle, but also there was, I thought it said Ava's
not by blood
brother-in-law. I don't know.
Yeah,
Sheriff Biggs is somehow related. That's weird. Calvin is Ava's deceased brother. Ian is the cousin. Piper is the aunt. Piper's Ian and Trent's mom. Trent is Ian's twin, and then Cheryl's the hypnosist.
And that's not even mentioning some of like the people they mentioned but weren't like carried through.
There's like the boat guy,
the
other
hairstyle friend, the waitress at the cafe, the prison escapee dude,
Reese, Lester. I think his name's Lester. He sounded like a Lester. Yeah,
there's so many people, and not all of them mattered. Even if she wanted to use some of them as distractions, she could have cut 10 people out of that list and it would have been fine.
then there was Crispin, whatever, Uncle Crispy.
Yes, Uncle Crispy. That's what I was saying.
And then he had a first wife who died in a car accident, which they think Uncle Crispy did it, and then then there was the second wife who's Piper.
Piper? Oh, I was reading as Pepper. I was like, Piper. The chicken's extra crispy with.
Hey, honestly, whatever helps. This book had so many characters, which is one reason why I docked it. I don't like a book that has a lot of characters that if I have to do homework, no. 2, I did not like the transitions between different POVs. It threw me off.
They were jarring.
There was too many. I could see Ava and Austin's point blank done. But then we had, I want to say Cheryl's point of view at one point. Then we had the doctor's point of view at one point. I think, well, obviously we had Austin. Then we had the sheriff's point of view towards the end. Then I think we had there was so many point of views and they didn't change. Usually when there's multiple point of views, they'll start it after every chapter and they'll write at the top whose name it is.
Yeah.
So you'll figure out who's what. Nope. No. Smack dab in the middle.
Yeah, in the middle of a chapter. In like middle of a thought.
Yeah. And I showed Dean at one point. I was just like, take a load of this. And I showed him and he goes, that seems reasonable. I'm like, whose side are you on? It's mine. No, this is not reasonable. No.
It was too many characters and too long. It needed so much more editing. So much needed to be cut. If it were more concise and we got to the point, there was unneeded descriptions of places. Like we'd follow Ava to places that did not matter.
I was just skimming at that point.
I skimmed a lot of this book.
Yeah.
Just not a good sign. Which I think is why I was half checked out of this book, which is why I didn't get like 50% of some of the twists. Because I was barely paying attention.
Yeah, it was not good. I guess I could read the back.
Read the back of the book.
We wanted to get into this. We wanted to get into this.
To rant.
We just have too much going on. This book had just too much. There's
so
too
much.
many things because then it was a lot. Okay. Life as Ava Garrison knew it ended the day her toddler son Noah went missing. In the 2 years since, she's been in and out of Seattle mental institutions, existing in a fog of grief. Noah's body was never found and everyone assumed he drowned after falling off a dock. Until recently, Ava thought so too. Since she moved back home, Ava has experienced unsettling visions. She hears Noah crying in the nursery, glimpses of him. She's missing like words in the back of this book. Near the water.
They're all in the book, that's why.
That makes sense. Her family, her psychologist, and her estranged husband are concerned for her well-being, or are they worried about what she might discover? Did Noah really die, or is Ava losing her sanity? The deeper into her memories she goes, the more fearful she becomes. Ava thought her son's disappearance was the worst thing that could happen to her, but before this nightmare ends, she'll discover how terrifying the truth can be. There's a lot of factors in this book. I felt like, I know mysteries are supposed to be suspenseful and maybe, I don't want to say like over the top. Like some of the, sometimes the twists are like so crazy that you're like, oh my God. But I feel like some of these things was just like too much, like burying the doll, setting up the thing.
It felt like she was trying to use different mystery tropes as twists. It'd be like, ooh, is it a ghost? No, that's not it. Oh, is she going crazy? No, that's not it. Oh, is it the husband? Oh, well, no, not it. Oh, is it the crazy serial killer that went loose and escaped prison? Yeah. No, that's it. It's like one thing after another. She tried to bring, like she put in everything.
There was just too many. And then I'm reading this and I'm like, you're telling me that this woman couldn't remember that she didn't birth a human being? You're telling me, I get
the twist trauma. That is not her son.
Yeah, the twist is that Julianne birthed a child, which I'm like, everyone kept a secret. Everyone
knew but her.
This book just, I don't know.
This woman, they're all in a boating accident. That's how her brother dies, and her cousin blames her, but that causes her to. She thought that's what caused her baby to be born early.
Which I almost would have blamed Julianne for the boat crash, because Julianne couldn't go down into the...
Shut up.
She couldn't shut up.
And then she was attacking Kelvin, like trying to hit him and stuff, but he's the one trying to steer the ship.
Julianne drove me absolutely nuts, and I'm sorry, but when they found her in the bathtub, didn't care.
I did not care. I was like, oh, thank God. Shut up.
Also, at the end, okay, I did not see Chloe being in on it.
I did not see Chloe being in on it.
I knew I was like, Wyatt's... I don't like Wyatt.
Obviously, Wyatt. Yeah.
Obviously, okay, so I just read the back of the book. It only talks about Ava. Then there's this side thing about Austin trying to figure out something, and I'm like, who is Austin? They didn't talk about this in the back of the book whatsoever. They're just bringing in another, like,
throw in every trope with him too, and be like, is it this? I'm his half brother. It felt like such a cheesy, like, what are those called? Like a hospital drama.
Oh, like
felt like a soap opera.
Yeah, it felt like a soap opera, because there was literally like so many things. So you're kind of reading Ava. She's seeing her son Noah, but she's not actually seeing him. She's doing crazy things like jumping into the bay because they live on an island. She's going up to the widow's walk in like the pouring rain. Like, she's doing crazy things where I'm like, okay, if I didn't know her and I was seeing her do this, I would also think she's losing it. But then she's also been given pills, and immediately off the bat, I was like, those are doing something to her.
Yeah. And even she's like, these are probably doing something, so she's not taking them. But then everyone knows she's not taking them.
And Wyatt really wanted to get rid of her, like, too much. And also, he was very into the psychiatrist.
So into the,
And I was like, this feels weird. And then she's like, I think my husband's having an affair. Then she miraculously remembers, oh, my husband's already had an affair, and I completely forgot it. I was like, lady, what more could you forget? At first,
she remembered that they were on the brink, that they were gonna get a divorce. She couldn't remember why.
Yeah.
And then she remembers why, and it's because he cheated on her. And then it's just her remembering what had happened.
Yeah. It's basically her
just remembered.
Yeah, it's like her trying to figure out what happened to Noah, because a 2-year-old couldn't just disappear off an island. And then, of course,
we're having a party downstairs.
Yeah, and they have to live by in a, like, hospital or an asylum, or I don't know, whatever it's called. And they just happen to live near there. And I'm like, oh my God. And then there's just so many factors, and then she's like trying to remember things, but then Wyatt's always there and like being really weird and like will want to make up with her, but then when he doesn't get his way, he like throws in that I'm your guardian, and if you want to stay here, then you need to listen to me. And
he'll threaten putting her back into mental hospital again. But all the while, there was a prisoner that escaped the so-called mental asylum or rehabilitation place that had closed down, and people on the mainland are seeing him again, but all the police think he's dead because how could he have made it? And so there's these spottings, and then the husband hires this dude as like maintenance that Ava didn't know about, and then we get his point of view, and he's being weird, and he's on this mission, and like has to make sure no one's looking, and like hides this flash drive that he like looks at on the computer, which I still don't get why.
Yeah, I'm
what
like,
does that have to do with anything?
I'm like, who hired you? And then come to find out he's the half brother of Lester, who is the escaped prisoner, and he's like trying to find him because their mom's dying. And I'm like, what?
He's never met this brother.
No.
And the mom gave up this the prisoner escapee when he was like a baby.
Yeah.
And now she just feels guilty.
Yeah.
And wants this son to bring that son home.
Yeah, and then of course Austin starts falling for Ava, and I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
It's oh. And it was weird because like her best friend who works for her is
Chloe,
always
yeah.
on the rocks with her husband, and her other friend on the mainland is on the rocks with her husband or her ex.
Yeah,
Is the father of her kids, but she also used to date one of Ava's cousins or
Trent,
something. They
yes.
all, it's so, they all need to move. They all need to move.
Yeah,
and
and
get
then
bigger
Chloe
pool.
Chloe and Ava went to high school together, and then they were like best friends. Then Chloe started dating Kelvin, Ava's brother, and they got engaged a couple months before Kelvin died. And then after Kelvin died, she took on Chloe to be her nanny for Noah, so that way she could still be around and still be part of the family because they felt bad.
Well, the
And
husband
then
wanted to, and
yeah,
Ava didn't want to. She wanted to take care of her kid, and like that's the first like, oh yeah, Wyatt was up to something in my head when he kept pushing to hire her. I was like,
yeah,
that's kind of offensive. Like, if I just hired you to be my nanny
yeah.
and you work for me now,
Yeah.
that's weird.
That's
That's
very weird. I'd
weird.
be like, no thanks. Yeah. And then Chloe's mom is the cook.
Yeah. And her husband
And
occasionally works on the land too. Simon?
no, oh, Simon is Chloe's husband. Yeah.
Another fucking name.
Yes, it's Simon. Um, and then yeah, we find out that so she thinks she's going crazy. Which like I said, if someone was outside looking in like we are reading this book, yeah, she's doing some crazy things.
Well, she's also super paranoid. Like she's
She's
convinced someone's trying
very,
to make her look
very
crazy, which is
paranoid.
driving her crazy.
Yeah, so at one point she goes into the baby's room, finds sneakers that are like filled with salt water, and then she comes to the conclusion that Jewel Ann always goes down to this rock that is like not a memorial, but like something that has
They
Noah's
have a
name
little
on it to
plaque
like
with his name on it,
to
yeah.
kind of go out there and like if they want to I don't know talk to Noah or
They never
whatever.
found his body, so just
No,
little
so then she
plaque.
starts panicking. Oh my God, what if Jewel Ann knows and like he's buried and it's been a grave all along? And so then Austin finds her digging and then just takes a shovel and digs for her. They find this casket that has a doll in it that's in the Noah's clothes. And I'm like, this is
Yeah.
crazy. So then she gets everyone that's on the island into that house and like just starts going crazy on them. And then she goes out and buys cameras, which I was like, okay, that's smart.
That's a good start, yeah.
We're doing it. We're making progress. So then she puts that because she found a old briefcase or old like not a briefcase, but like a luggage, I think, that had a box that had a recording of Noah or the baby crying. So that way it'd wake her up at night and she'd think she heard Noah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Which would also make her think she's going crazy. And
Oh,
so
she also found a key in her pocket at one point, and she couldn't figure out what it went to, and that is what opened the casket with the doll in it.
did we ever figure out who gave her the key?
Probably Joanne.
Okay, that makes sense. I was just thinking to myself, I don't remember if they
No,
ever
not
said.
technically. I
Okay.
don't think they ever
Okay.
said.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute. I don't think we ever found that out. So then she finds that box up in the attic that has a recording. She turns off the power so that way whoever knows about it up in the attic has to go and turn it back on. Then she puts cameras on it. Finds out that Jewel Ann, who is supposedly can't
Wheelchair
walk.
bound. Yeah.
Yeah. Um kind of
And it can.
kind of can walked up the stairs and then of course she's like you could have doctored that. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
Julianne, oh
any
you.
video can be altered.
She drove
But
me nuts.
also the way Ava reacted to every piece of evidence she found drove me nuts. Because if she behaved like a normal human being, people wouldn't have
Yeah.
thought that she was going crazy. But the way she threatened to kill Julianne after finding out.
Yeah. And at one point, Austin's like, you have to pull yourself together. Like, they are wanting this reaction, whoever it is, like, you have to pull yourself together.
Literally.
And I was just like, okay, good. Someone's talking
one voice
some
of
sense.
reason.
And so Cheryl, the hypnosis, who is helping Anne, gets her throat slit. Then the Ava, the psychologist or psychiatrist, gets her throat slit. Yeah. Then Julianne in the bathtub gets her throat slit, and then has 2 dolls with nail polish that act like they got their throats. I was like,
yeah. Also, one of the pieces of evidence was that like strands from a black wig, and then Julianne is wearing the black wig at the end. And the way they were describing it, I don't know, it came up often enough that I thought it was going to play a bigger part other than just a disguise, because duh.
Yeah.
But no, just weird.
Well, and then I thought to myself, okay, so they probably put the black wig on Julianne to make them think that Julianne's the one that killed them. But then I was like, no one would commit suicide by slitting their throat like that.
Yeah.
And positioning themselves like that. And also, how would Julianne be able to kill those 2 people when she's supposedly in a wheelchair? Like, their thought process.
And like, she can get upstairs, but it's still like she was injured. It's not like graceful walking. It's still a struggle.
Yeah. And so then she's in her room. She thinks like Julianne had just died. Everyone is over at the mainland or like doing other things because of all these murders. And she still has the cameras up, and she sees that there's a figure on the 3rd floor, and she's like, well, Julianne's already dead. Like, who else would be up there? That's when she sees Chloe with the machine, like putting it back together. And then she sees Wyatt, and then they're making googly eyes at each other. And I'm like, oh, geez, Louise. And then Chloe stabs Wyatt. And so then, of course, Ava's freaking out and calls the police and is like running. And then Chloe's being really weird, like walking down the stairs, like, Ava. Like, okay. I was like, what kind of horror, like The Shining, are we dealing with at this point? Then Wyatt is not, he didn't get stabbed. He's not dead. And then they are both trying to harm Ava. Come to find out, Noah is alive, was taken and sent up to Canada the night of the party, and has been with a different family who really wanted a baby, so they sold him, which I was like, that is insane. And then Ava goes into the water because she's trying to run away from Chloe. The police are coming in a boat. And then Wyatt and Chloe just start making out on the mainland. I was like, what is happening? Ava drowned. She is technically dead.
She's actively drowning, yes.
As they're making out on the shoreline. Then they both get shot. Ava comes back to life by Austin. He brings her back to life by CPR.
Oh, this was all after Austin tells the police that he is the half-brother and that he came to look for the escapee. And so and he helped them find the escapee guy.
Yes, they find Lester. Yes, they find him.
Because at first they were saying that because Noah is Julianne's son, they were trying to figure out who the dad was, and they thought that because Julianne's dad and her family was running the prison at the time, that Lester was the dad, but Lester denied it, and then they did a paternity test, and it's not, because it's Wyatt's.
Which, that one was a good twist. I like that one.
Wyatt.
Yeah, and the one female cop had found recordings because Julianne used to go see the psychiatrist and had like talked about how Lester is the one that was the baby's dad. But yeah, that one was a pretty crazy twist.
Yeah.
I liked that one. I was like,
Wyatt
oh.
just slept with everyone.
Yeah, so they're on their way back after Austin was dealing with Lester and his brother. And he gets a voicemail or a text from Ava saying that, like, basically it was Wyatt and Chloe and they're trying to kill me and all that. Yeah. So she's actively drowning. Austin gets to her, does CPR. The cops shoot Wyatt and Chloe. They're both down for the count. And then Ava gets Noah back, and Noah, and Austin live happily ever after. Although Noah now goes by Peter, it is not Noah.
He's not Noah
It is
anymore.
Peter. Yeah. The end.
And 500 whatever fucking pages later, it wasn't awful.
Too many twists.
It was just too much.
There were some good twists.
Yeah.
Some not so much. Other times I was like, what am I reading?
Needed cutting back. It would have been a much better book if it were shorter.
This book was a roller coaster of emotions, and I don't know if it was the best roller coaster I've ever been on. I feel like it was a roller coaster for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, it was so I'm getting rid of it because it's also a pocket-sized book, so there's definitely not a reason I'm gonna keep it.
I'm not gonna keep it. I'm not gonna buy it in the bigger size.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it. She's very known for her mystery. Like, Lisa Jackson is a very well-known author.
I was looking at my other books by her, and she writes a lot of books from, like, in Oregon. There's a lot of her books are placed in Oregon.
Pretty sure it said that she lived in the Pacific.
I would think so, because this one even was on an island in Washington. I remember because they would talk about going to Seattle.
Yes. And some of them were like Oregon State police officers and stuff. Yeah. Let's see.
I definitely would have thought this was written a little earlier than 2012, though. I would have guessed
Oregon.
2002. Oh, that would make sense.
There's a Lisa Jackson FAQ, and it says, many of your books are set in the Pacific Northwest. Is that where you live? And she said, yes, I've lived in Oregon most of my life, so many of my stories are set here, as it's where I'm most comfortable.
All right, let's hear the 1 stars. Oh God, now I'm yawning.
I know, I keep yawning. Okay. Let me go to Goodreads. Yeah, my phone's at 5%, so let's get this ball rolling.
You can always use my phone too if we need.
Nah, we're good. We're good. Which is sad because this is my first book of 2024. We are not off to a great start, guys.
But mine was Priest.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. She's off to a spicy start. Okay, so it is at a 3.81 stars, 8,907 ratings. Mainly 4 stars, and then 5, and then 3. Let's see. Let's see what the 1 star were.
I feel like this was more our like mom's generation of books. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, it definitely felt older, I would say. Dreadful writing. Yeah, with a background of a huge acquainted family home on an isolated island. I don't like stories with scheming servants. Tedious, impossibly repetitious, and the reader of the audiobook was dreadful. Oh, well.
Oh, well, that's an extra bummer.
Too many twists and turns. The opening got confusing as the author was delaying information. Yeah, lots of people are just disappointed, and they're like, I love a good thriller, and Lisa Jackson is like a big one. I've read so many Lisa Jackson books and never been disappointed until this one.
Damn, we did not choose the right one to start off with.
Yeah, this story dragged on and on without much suspense, thriller, romance. I couldn't wait to get off the island and never hear the word gaslighting again. The plot made little sense the further it went along. Yeah.
Yeah.
Book was repetitive and whiny.
It just got too outrageous.
Someone just goes, how did this get published?
Damn. She has a crazy amount of books. Wonder if I can see.
Dreadfully boring. I honestly don't remember the last time I read a book with a main character I loathed quite as much as this one.
Oh.
I kept rooting for her to die.
Damn. Not so. The most recent one, I think, it was published in 2022.
Okay.
From what I can tell.
Oh, The Girl Who Survived?
Yeah. They're not put in order on Goodreads.
Nice. The Third Grave by Lisa Jackson, I feel like we've seen a lot at like Target and stuff.
I have it.
Oh. I don't own this is my only Lisa Jackson book. My mom has, I think, 2, because my mom goes, Lisa Jackson, that sounds familiar. And I was like, Mom, you have her book on your shelf. She's like, I do. I was like, see, this is where I get my books from. I don't. Yeah, I mean, she's written a lot. I just feel like I would have rather a different book, you know? I don't know.
I'm still trying to figure out how many she's written.
Too many.
It's 120.
Dear God.
120. Oh, one's coming out this July, apparently. Too much.
Yeah, it's too much.
We got to cut it off at some point. Yeah, like that's back into the 90s.
Yeah, she's starting to pull like a CJ Box or Stephen King, like those authors that have like an ungodly amount of books.
Endless.
I feel like there's another author that usually has like a ton of books, and I can't. It's a male name.
I see a lot of like Dean Koontz.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of all those books where, like, if we go to a bookstore, like especially
James Patterson,
James fucking Patterson.
That's who I was thinking.
Has a whole bookshelf to themselves that
yes.
I just skip right over.
Yes, James Patterson.
Fucking Patterson.
That's who I was thinking of. I was like, that sounds familiar. Yeah, James Patterson.
Yeah, it was a bit of a loss this week. It wasn't awful, but
I did buy my mom was making fun of me because I bought the last 2 Elsie Silver books for my collection.
Yes.
Because the front of the covers with the people on them they're like starting to like take them out of print.
Yeah.
They're changing them, and I cannot have a cover of a book series change in the middle of the series. I can't do it.
They have to match.
I have 3 of them. There is no way that I am waiting and buying separate covers for the last 2. Absolutely not. So I just went and bought the last 2. And my mom was like, really? And I even pulled them up on my phone and showed her. I said, look at this cover versus this cover. You're telling me that you want to put on my bookshelf these 2 different covers that are from the same. Absolutely not. Because people are reselling them for like $60 on Pingo. I was like, no. Nope. So I'm buying them. Yeah. So they will all look the same.
Did she put out like the last one that's going to be in the series?
I don't know if it's the last one, but at least it's the one that's the most recent.
The latest one at least.
I don't know if that's final or not. Huh. We'll see. I know I keep yawning.
I know it's getting real bad. Well, next week we got a repeat author. Yeah, we read Daisy Jones and the Six from her.
Okay, that is next
So
week.
now we're reading Forever Interrupted by
I
Taylor Jenkins
I
Reid.
will be honest, I saw your rating and I'm scared. So there's that.
I'm going to try to stay quiet.
Okay. Well, yeah, we're gonna do it.
This is her debut novel. This was her first book. That's what I came to learn.
The rating makes more sense now. Okay.
I liked Daisy Jones and the Six.
Well, and I loved Evelyn Hugo.
That was also a good one. Did we? I don't think we did
Didn't do
an
that.
episode on
No.
that one, but we did an episode on Daisy Jones and the Six, kind of around the time the TV series was coming out, which I have not watched yet. I'm gonna be honest. But you can listen to that episode of ours about the book.
Well, the next two authors are repeat authors. So Taylor Jenkins Reid and then Kristen Hanna.
And Kristen Hanna.
Kristen Hanna was our very first ever podcast episode.
Yeah. We didn't even read we chose a number 2 in the very few series she has.
We're getting better, guys. I promise we've gotten better. You live and you learn.
You can listen to that episode, but I'm not going to tell you to.
It was in a garage. Not very good mics.
So many good bands and companies have started out of a garage. It means nothing.
We've gotten better. We've gotten, the headsets and the microphones and
have actual equipment.
We have actual equipment. Someday we'll have a place where we can just keep everything set up. Kind of have it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. But yes, I went on to Goodreads because I needed to go and update, and then I saw all the books that you have read, and I was just like, I've read one book this year. Mel's killing it. And then I saw your ratings for both, and I was just like, here we go.
I would try to hide them from you better, but if I don't put it on Goodreads, I'm gonna forget my own thoughts about something.
No,
there's no way.
It's okay. No, it's okay. Because I'm sure by the time I read them, I am too going to forget. It's gonna be fine. Everything's fine.
I can't remember if this particular story is gonna become a movie too, because I know a lot of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books have been picked up. I know one of them just became a movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I forget which one. I forget the title. But it's not the one we're reading.
What was the one we were reading?
Forever Interrupted.
Was the other one In Another Life or One True Love?
One True Loves. That's that one. That one. I haven't seen it, but I know it's a movie.
Well, I know because that's the one where she thought her husband died and then she remarries and then the husband comes back.
Yeah.
So now she's like, oh no, I've got two guys.
That's not the one we're reading.
No, that's not the one we're reading. I don't even know which one we're reading. I don't remember.
Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna have to. I haven't read like a physical book. It's just so much easier on my Kindle. This is hard. Because then I can lay in bed and I don't have to have the light on.
I am waiting for you to get those Kindle accessories that like is the arm to hold it up and the button to click the next page so that you don't even have to have your arms outside of the blanket.
It's gonna happen.
One day.
I'm probably gonna treat myself to that once Dean and I buy a house. Because then I can know what my setup's gonna be like.
True.
I'll probably wait. Then I don't have to worry about packing it and things like that and it getting broken. There are some videos that I've seen on TikTok of girls using those accessories, so I've saved those to come back to. So I'll know where to go.
Got the link.
I've got the link.
Thanks for listening. Check out our Instagram at Baby Got Stacks Podcast. You can check out our schedule, what we're reading next up on there. Still 2 more weeks in January, so we'll wait to post February's schedule, but
we do have that. It is
ready. We're set for
March
quarter 1 of 2024. Look at us go.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy? And then we always are so surprised every time we have to make and choose new books because we're so surprised that we've somehow made it through. Because we think, I mean, like 3 months in advance, that's a long time.
That's a long time, but then
it's not.
All of a sudden we're like, oh my God, we have to make a thing for the next month because we don't have anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes by real quick.
It's crazy.
That's scary. Plus, it's a leap year.
No, that's right.
I don't know how that. Yeah. Well, anyway, we have a link in our bio with our Goodreads. The link in there so you can see what else we're going to read. I've been on a reading kick this week, but I go back to work next week. So, well, this week, maybe the ice storm might keep me at home.
Supposedly things might still be closed on Tuesday, and if that's the case, then I am just stuck up here. I can't.
This is what we do. This is our little bookworm dream.
It is quite nice, yes. Like, sorry, it's the weather, not me.
Sorry, it's the weather. I'm gonna sit by my fireplace.
Yes.
I think that's it. Like and follow wherever you're listening to this podcast right now.
Yeah, well,
and that's the whole shebang.
We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, unless we're covered in snow.
Unless, meh. I might be out there doing snow angels covered in ice. Who knows?
Or giving up.
Or just sliding down. I might just be on my back sliding down the hill.
Just see where it goes. We'll find out.
We'll see how I'm feeling.
There she goes.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye, guys.